All right, episode 2 of the Risky Business Show with Dave Risk. I am very happy to have with us today the one and only Dennis Chang. Uh, Dennis, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going all right. It's going all right. You are coming us from right now. Where are you from?
I am in Taiwan. Yeah. Well, long story short is I'm stranded here for the time being. Yeah, since the beginning of the pandemic, actually. I came
Wow.
here for a festival that was due to happen right when the pandemic went like international. So when I arrived, that festival got canceled and all my flights got canceled, and I was kind of stranded for a while, so to speak.
Okay.
And I'm still here now, waiting to leave.
Well, I hope everything resolves itself very soon, and we'll get you back in Montreal. I see you have the Godin Montrealer with you.
Yes, so when I found out I would be stuck, I came here without a guitar. The Patrick Godin, who is the CEO of Godin Guitars, arranged for me to have this. They shipped this from Montreal.
Beautiful.
And this past week, Peter Henriksen from Henriksen sent me this amp. So I'm very appreciative of all these people, for helping me during artists in general during hard times. It's really appreciated.
That's great, great stuff. Well, you certainly deserve it, Dennis. You've been doing a lot of great work throughout the years. I've been watching you from afar and sometimes a close. Every now and then running into you in the park and having a little jam and
Yeah,
whatnot.
that was the last time we saw each other. I remember.
That's
Jeanne Mance, Parc Jeanne Mance.
That's right. That's right. John
I
Moss
remember.
Park. And I saw you guys, a couple of guys were hanging out and playing the gypsy jazz guitar.
Mhm.
And I had a little sit down, jammed a couple of songs with you guys. It was fantastic. Now I'm not a gypsy jazz guy, but I could kind of swing every now and then if I put my mind to it. So we had a good time.
Yeah,
We
it
had
was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember.
fun. It was fun for sure, and definitely hope to do it again soon. I mean, hopefully everything is going to resolve itself very quickly,
Yeah.
and you'll be back home in Montreal. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
I just booked. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you were gonna say, go ahead.
No, I just before this thing, I booked a flight to Amsterdam on December 2nd.
Oh yeah, so it's happening.
It's for work. Yeah, I got some work. I lined up some work over there, so I'm gonna fly over.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, great, great, great. So I've seen I've seen you have the your school of music that really has been taken off. You've been doing great stuff. I mean, really, as I could see, like worldwide for jazz guitar and gypsy jazz guitar. You have students come to you, do you not? I believe from all over the world.
So my music school, if you mean DC music school, it's an online site. I wouldn't
Yes.
call it a real school. It's just the name.
What?
It's an online
It's
platform where
hey, look, as far as gypsy jazz guitar goes and a lot of other things, I consider you to be one of the true masters. Honestly, I see the thorough, very serious work that you put into it, and I commend you on that.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
So
and
there, yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
So yeah, there is that website, and actually this year is the 10th anniversary. But because of the pandemic, I haven't done anything with that website since the pandemic started. Because to make that site work requires me to work with artists from all over the world, and we all know what happened last year. Let's not even go there. And then you're talking about people coming to me for lessons. Yes, that's something separate. That's a homestay program that I had when I was in Montreal. And obviously that didn't happen last year. Last year would have been the 5th anniversary.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
wow.
yeah. The story behind that is I bought my condo next to Jean Moss Park uh, two 2015. Yes, 2015. Yeah. My criteria for looking for a place to buy was, does it have a basement that's quiet? So I went to visit a lot of houses in Montreal, and they want to say, "Can we show you this cool thing in the back?" I was like, "No, I want to see the basement first. Show me the basement." Everyone's like, "What? Why?" So specific. But yeah, I found a place, and I ended up having one spare room. I didn't know what to do with it actually. One person asked if he could rent it and be my roommate, and he said, "This is my budget." He was like, "Okay, I'll consider it." And I posted a picture of that empty room on social media, and this guy messaged me like, "Hey, can I come spend a weekend with you? I can pay you this much," and it was a significant percentage of what the person would pay for 1 month. And I was like, "Whoa!"
Very.
Like,
This might
why
you
not?
might this might be a good idea.
Yeah. So I said, I mean, it's a bit scary, like you're welcoming strangers into your home, right? It's a bit,
Yeah.
it was a bit of risk, but I should just say that. So like for the 4 years that I've done this, it's only been a blast. I like no regrets at all. But anyway, that happened. The first person came from Toronto, and then I posted a picture of that, and then the emails just came, and it was like every time I was in Montreal, I had someone coming from somewhere. So that was a lot of fun. I loved it.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll be getting back to that soon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now, and I also I've seen that. Of course, you do tons of transcription stuff. Very detailed breakdown of historical breakdown of the genre, and you've had also Pat Martino, I believe, and Berali Lagrène
Mhm.
that you've worked with. Tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about that.
Yes. Okay. About the transcription thing. I don't know why, but transcribing is something that I started when I was very young. As soon as like you get your first thing on, it was on Guitar Pro back then. I don't know if you know what that is, Guitar Pro. It's
I'm barely computer literate, Dennis. I barely can work my phone.
fair
So
enough, fair enough. It's one of the first notation softwares for that's very guitar friendly.
okay.
So I started making transcriptions on that like at a really early age as far as guitar is concerned. And I've been doing it ever since. And I guess I got very, I wouldn't say goodbye, I got more and more familiar, faster and faster, as years went by. It's something that came quote unquote naturally just because I did it all the time. So I did a lot of transcribing. And then what was the next thing? Ah, yes, you were talking about the Pan Martino and Birelli. Yeah, that's
Yes.
for my music school. I worked with them. I produced lessons for my music school with them. Yes.
Now I gotta say, though, both of those guys, especially Pat Martino, but also Bitterly, uh, Pat Martino was a very big influence on my playing
Cool.
through my teacher Jerry DeVilliers.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, great.
yeah, so
Wow.
I had a couple of the Pat Martino books back in the day that I and looked at the theory and found it all fantastic. And still to this day, use his ideas, some of his ideas and concepts as far as converting things to minor, which is very interesting way of looking at things. Sort of always now it's do I always think like that? No, but every now and then I could fall into that theoretical thought pattern. So really, and another thing that brings me to another point. Aside from generally, like we're obviously both guitar players and musicians. I've done a little bit of teaching, but we've seen sort of what's happened with guitar, certain really guitar greats, Pat Martino and Dick Dale as well, not too long ago passed away. with a lot of health issues and financial troubles. And maybe
Well, Pat
maybe
Martino didn't pass away.
no, no, I know
Yeah,
Pat Martino. Now
I
I
think that.
just
Yeah,
Dick Dale,
yeah.
rest in peace, father of surf guitar, but just basically leading to me to these sort of giants of guitar. Uh, I know there was a GoFundMe for Pat for some health issues, and it just sort of breaks my heart a little bit to see sometimes what's going on. Can you maybe share your thoughts on a little bit of that topic?
Um, I had I have news from Pat Martino. Actually, just coincidence. I was talking to his manager just a few days ago. So I do have updates. As far as Pat Martino is concerned, it was before the pandemic, so it's not pandemic related. He forgot exactly what it was, but it was some serious issue. I think it was on October 2019, and an issue that required immediate attention, medical attention. But the doctors did not dare proceed with the operation due to his advanced age. They said there's a huge risk that they would fail. But the alternative would be not to do anything, but things would steadily, well, wouldn't improve. This is at the least. And so now he's, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, he's full time on assisted breathing, and obviously can no longer play the guitar. So that's been his case since October of 2019. And the pandemic did not help at all because when you're during the pandemic, you can't see anyone, right? Because if he catches COVID-19, it's finished. So he's basically been, luckily, he has a supportive wife and he has a manager who does really great things for him, Joe D'Onofrio. There was a GoFundMe, it's still ongoing. And as far as I'm concerned, we did those lessons together, and I changed the contract so that I'm sending him money every single month. So
That's great, Dennis. That's great. Well, look, we're obviously we're going to send our prayers out to Pat and wish him really best health and wishing that he comes back.
Oh, I should say, according to his manager, like, okay, it's obviously not a good situation for Pat, and it's unfortunately, unless there's a miracle, it's not going to get better. But I'm told that he's in very good spirits despite the circumstances, that he keeps a positive outlook on life.
Fantastic. If any message can be sent from me, would be just thank you to Pat for everything he's done in the world of guitar. Absolute genius and a groundbreaker.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. So look, let's try a couple of things here. Speaking about Pat Martino, let's try and do a couple of things. Now we did a test before.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and make it happen, I guess. Same thing. Let's try the same thing. Same little number we did. I'll strum it up. You could blow, and whenever you want, we'll switch it up, and I'll play to you.
Sure. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a weird time field, but whatever.
I know. We'll see what this is, folks. You know, this is the magic of very long distance Zoom. I know there are other apps or that are in sync, but we haven't had time to set that up. But maybe for the future we'll be able to set something up that's. But I do believe that we'll be able to fix this. If not, we'll figure it out. Here we go.
We'll make do.
Here we go. A one, a two, two, two.
It's a
Right.
weird delay. It's,
It's not
I
too
don't know if
bad.
you can
Yeah,
fix that. Oh,
well, they'll I think Stefan will be able. That was fun. That was fun. Even with the slate, it's the switch in the middle that one has to play to the other, and
yeah, yeah,
so that was fun though. That was
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks.
yeah.
So, so without getting into too much detail, theoretical detail, um, since we're talking guitar, since we are talking guitar, I was clicking on one of your clips, and you were mentioning about how somebody had asked you about either theory or concept when you're improvising,
Okay.
and I believe that you said something along the lines of, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to misquote you, but something along the lines of learning the language,
Yeah,
learning the lines, and of course this is coming from the transcription and all that, getting deep into the specifics of it. So maybe you could expand on that, because I'm coming from many different worlds myself theoretically, so I sort of mix it up. So I'd like to, maybe we could talk about that just a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, when I say learn the language, it depends what language are we talking about, because if even in the world of jazz, there's so many styles out there. And I'm specifically talking about like older styles like swing or bebop, where back in those days, for the most part, it was coming from that aspect of musician. It was all very much language based, harmony based, as opposed to chord scale based, which is something that came later. It's this chord scale thing, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's so standardized in modern education. It gives the impression that that was how they learned in the days of Charlie Parker, and I think when it was not, because those terms like do and everything, those terms were not really used in jazz in those days. It came much later. It started to become more standardized around the 70s. And the 60s, they started to use it. In the 50s, not so many people used it. So it's more of a psychological way of thinking. So if you want to play like, because nowadays when you learn music, furthermore, because of music school, a lot of terminology got invented, like words that never existed in those days, bebop scales and this and that and all that stuff. For them back in the day, they only knew major and minor, and then everything else was just left to their own exploration. And because a lot of those players in those days didn't learn the way that people might learn today in a standardized way, each person came up with their own system. So we're talking about Pat Martino, he's a self-taught player. All that stuff he does, it's his own, of course, it's his own interpretation of what exists out there. And that's how he sometimes when he plays some of those hip lines that if you analyze what it does, it actually makes no sense if you analyze it
Yeah.
in today's way.
I've certainly caught a few of his lines that were like really outside, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And it also encourages you to come up with your own stuff. Of obviously,
Yes. Yes.
when you hear stuff like that, you're like, well, that sounds crazy, essentially, but I love it, and maybe I could come up with my own crazy lines.
Yes. Yes. And so that's what it is. And a lot of this, again, we're talking about the bebop stuff. We're not talking about fusion or modal stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of it is harmony based, and it's about where you want to go in the harmony. So Pat Martino developed his crazy lines based on his interpretation of where he wants the harmony to go, and that's how it was in those days. And that's how, like, again, if you analyze, here's another player, Charlie Christian. If
Yes.
you check out what he does, again, I'm assuming that he didn't get too much like formal education. He probably just knew his basic, very, very basic elementary theory, major and minor chords, and maybe major and minor scales, and everything else he invented, he discovered on his own. Well, anyway, the way he plays, he breaks so many rules, music school rules nowadays, and that's where the hip lines come from. It's like these mistakes.
Yes, the so-called outside notes.
Yeah, he does a lot of things you're not supposed to do, but he didn't know any better.
Well, wasn't it Joe Pass, I believe, in one of his videos that said, I don't know that there are any wrong notes
Yeah, yeah.
in the
Fair
end.
enough.
You know,
Yeah.
in the end, there may be no actual wrong notes. But if we are talking vocabulary and of bebop and other genres, we do have to sort of stick to the idiom nonetheless, and
Yes.
certain guidelines and borders that have to be respected. So sometimes I think also that even within jazz, because we're playing within a very set structures, that in a way it's not so free. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying. Even though
I know.
yeah, it's the walls and the streets and the buildings are all very much there, and you can kind of do what you want, but not you can't go through the wall, to a
That,
certain.
that,
And you
that,
can if you can definitely bring a wrecking ball to it and do it, but then you're not in the idiom anymore, right?
but that's the thing that's very interesting because when we talk about language, I told you before, all these words that exist nowadays didn't exist back in the day. But even words like bebop or swing or jazz, those are words that came after this. It's not like, hey, I'm going to invent something called bebop. Let's go. One, two,
Right.
three, go. It
No,
came
right.
gradually. And so, what is bebop even? Because think about it, even not even me, no one plays like they do back in the day. Because back in the day, it was something gradual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what I'll tell you, this is a very nerdy thing, but I'm still researching this. I've been trying to figure out who was the first to really use the altered scale really prolifically. Because nowadays when we talk bebop, people will say altered scale. When you check out Charlie Parker, he barely used anything resembling chord. I only found one instance where it's like, yeah, those are kind of the notes from altered, but it's not like outright scale. That didn't happen until like the 60s or late 50s. But in the 40s, there was not much of that.
So
So like, but that was bebop, you
so
know?
who did you identify?
I don't know who would be the first year, but like by the early 60s, it was a lot of players were using it. You can hear Joe Pass using those ideas. You can hear Wes Montgomery. A lot of players you can hear, yeah. But
Yeah.
like before that, like how did that happen? How did it gradually come to be that way? So it's very interesting.
It is very interesting. The way I learned was very strange, I think. And I think possibly you as well. We came up, I guess, in the 70s and the 80s. I guess if we're roughly the same age. I mean, as children, right?
Mhm.
And with television, really, right?
Yes, yes,
So John Zorn speaks about this as well. How it's not like we're born in New Orleans, turn of the century, and all that,
yes,
where you're
yeah,
born, where you're literally born into a genre, or if you're Django or Bireli, that you're born into it. That's one thing, but we're really children of television and media. And John Zorn speaks this. We're the first generation that's exposed to almost everything at once, mass data of music, and it creates this fractal or fracturization. So you have to sort of choose your path, and
yes.
because you can't do it all, I assume. um, but it's a very very interesting thing. So theoretically what happens is that you wind up being exposed to a lot of things at once. So
Yes.
looking at, I know that you probably had your heavy metal background, such as I did.
A little bit, yeah.
Completely different theory, really, but it holds its own really in its genre, and that's the sound of that type of music. And then
Yes.
starting to mix some of those theories actually into jazz. My one of my great challenges in a way was, because I do enjoy the heavy, um, was one way to always trying to sort of marry the two together. And in the end, I think I've had fairly good success. I've been doing a lot of improvised shows since 2001, really. When I say improvised, the thing was that it would be difficult to get musicians to rehearse my pieces. They were either busy and then get them a chart and it's like, forget it, let's just play. So I got used to doing this live improvisation thing, and through that, I've discovered a sort of a new state of being, really, which is very much the because I did a lot of the learning. I had Tony Romandini as a teacher, uh, and then it reaches a point where I guess where I the place that I enjoy being is I guess in full improvisational freedom, but respond in a responsible way. If you're in front of an audience, you have a responsibility to that audience. So I can't go completely insane. And doing show after show after show of that type of thing, your mindset sort of changes, and oftentimes even really good musicians can get nervous doing these types of shows because it's like, what are we doing, what are we doing? I say, don't worry about it and just follow me. And it's a question of reading the audience, and in a sense connecting to the audience. So it's a different state of mind. Did you read the book Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner?
I was just talking about that book with my friend the other day, but I have not read it. I was talking about what books in music are like the books to read. It's like we've mentioned, yeah, that book, but I haven't read it. No, I haven't.
I read that book a long time ago, and I recommend it to anyone listening today who's a musician, either learning, coming up, or even advanced. I think it's a really great book, and what it did was break certain, I guess thought patterns, allow certain other thought patterns. So it's one of the things is, and I'll just share this really quickly, is the push pull principle, right? So if you are consciously choosing to play something, that you're pushing it. So I will play this line, I will play this line, I will play this line. And literally you are pushing, the energy is coming out from your brain into your fingers, you're pushing it out. Now, instead of doing that, let's pause for a second and put your fingers on the neck and not plan, and let the music, if you will, or the energy pull itself out of your fingers. So instead of me pushing it down, so completely, so it's now I'm becoming more of a vessel or a conduit to something that I'm not really fully, well, I'm not aware or conscious of what's going to happen. Actually, I'm in a sort of in dans le néant, in a sort of a chaos mode. But from there, with all the theory that's there, music could start coming out on its own. So, and if you're connected to an audience and with people around you, if you're really connected or listening or in tune, then it usually works out pretty good. So I just wanted to share that sort of push-pull principle with you and audience members. Now, maybe what we could do to wrap up, because I know it's getting very late where you are, and I want to thank you for your time today, Dennis. Maybe we could wrap it all up with a little bit of a jam, in a sense. In a sense, let's try some of this, where let's just have a relative tonal center, and let's just exchange. Let's just exchange. So since we're guitar players and we want to frustrate everyone around the world, we'll choose E as a key.
All right. When
Thank
you
you
said
so
E,
much.
I thought you said E major. I was like, oh, E minor. Okay.
Minor, major,
Yeah, yeah,
as long as we're in tune in E, my friend. Thank you very much,
yeah.
Dennis, for your
Thank
time.
you.
I'll let you go
My
to
pleasure.
bed.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.